Hello, this is Craig Mertens, the co-founder and general manager of Digital Art Solutions, broadcasting from Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's going to be a nice balmy 102 today. Seems a little hot for this time of the year, but it was 74 this morning, so that was awesome. But we have a dry heat, unlike David Gross over here. Say hi, David. This is
Well,
David
hey,
from
Craig.
Condi Systems. David and I have been friends for close to 20 years. We're like two peas in a pod. We're both nerds, undercover nerds. But we know that the nerds control the planet. So you learn that when you go to your high school reunion. You're like, wow. So, but what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about sublimation, and we're going to talk about sublimation from a couple perspectives. Number one, the business opportunity, and number two is kind of what it takes to get started in it. I would classify sublimation just, as kind of a, outsider kind of person, as the most popular decorating process in our industry right now. It's just explosive growth to the point where it's actually challenging to get the equipment right now. I'd say, probably a good reason for part of the reason for that is it's literally the perfect production process for mask and gator production. And so people are just gobbling these printers up during the proverbial gold rush of gators and masks that's occurring nationally right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to David, and then he's going to present, and then I'm going to do a little bit of interviewing with him at the end of the presentation. And you guys are welcome to chime in with questions. So I will collect all the questions, and we'll live chat them to you directly, and then we'll repeat them for the entire audience at the end of the webcast. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my. I'm going to switch over to. Just going to mute my webcam here and let David take this over.
Hi, thank you, Craig. David Gross here, and I'm with Condi Systems. And Craig, by the way, if you can still hear me, who is your co-founder?
My sister, Nicole.
Okay, gotcha. So at any rate, I'm sort of been doing the same thing for a long time. In my first life as an electrical engineer, I helped develop the world's first monochrome laser printers. I did some of the electronics, and that company was ultimately sold to Konica Minolta. And so over 25 years ago, I found myself with a need to develop a new career. So I did a literature search, and I was interested in digital imaging. I was interested in color, and I was interested in high value printing, if you will. And I stumbled across the amazing technology of sublimation. Sublimation is really a phenomenon of nature. It simply means to go from the solid to the gas state without going through the liquid. And it was first observed probably in the late 1930s in England, when some folks accidentally discovered that some synthetic dyes called dispersed dyes, when heated, stained acetate materials. Then polyester was invented right there right slightly before, I think, World War II. Became an important invention, obviously, for World War II. At any rate, what they found is that these synthetic dyes, dispersed dyes, would dye what we'll call an oil-loving molecule, which is polyester. Polyester is a petroleum-based product. And from there, people started screen printing the dyes onto paper and then pressing them onto fabric. Then they started loading the dyes into a printing press and printing on paper and then pressing. Spring forward to, we'll say, 1981, which was when the IBM PC was introduced. There was a need for printers, and ultimately people started putting these dyes into inkjet printers, printing on paper, and that really ushered in the modern age of dye sublimation. Some people will correctly call it dye diffusion. That's probably a better term. But today, sublimation is absolutely gone viral, pardon the pun. But it really has. And a lot of reasons for that. And it probably goes back to, I think, the Google mentality. The Google mentality is, I want it my way, and I want it now. And that's what sublimation delivers on thousands of products. You had a good shot there on the screen there for a second, Craig. So
What did I have on the screen? What was showing?
it was just a full screen of ugly me.
Okay, hold on. We're
So
gonna do that again. So there we go.
yep, there you
Boom.
go. There you go. So today, what our company specializes in is essentially helping people be successful with every aspect of sublimation, from the equipment, which we would call turnkey, as opposed to piecemeal, meaning you sort of try to figure it out, put it together, which is not such a good thing. You really want to be successful, and that's what our company specializes in. And also teaching you how to do it. I have, you know, over 1,000 videos on sublimation. Our resources are absolutely incredible. And why do sublimation? Well, there's only really one reason to do sublimation, and that is for the products that you can produce. And during this situation we're in, some of the really amazing viral products are, of course, the face mask and gaiters. Now, the reason sublimation is so successful with those two products is because it dyes the fabric. It is what we would call subsurface decorating, meaning it's just dyeing the fabric so it doesn't change the hand, it doesn't change the breathability. All it does is make the fabric a different color. And so that's why it's so ideal. Other technologies like transfer paper, screen printing, all those things actually will block pores. Vinyl, for instance, blocks pores, and it does change the product. Sublimation in no way changes the product. So today, to get into sublimation is really ridiculously easy. If you think about, you know, the big picture here, you know, you do something with a computer to build your artwork. You print to a printer that has sublimation inks. You print onto sublimation paper, and then you use a heat press to decorate the product. Now, in the case of paper, paper is not an active ingredient in the sublimation process. It's just used to carry the ink from the printer to the heat press. So it's not fancy, it's inexpensive. In sublimation, the active ingredient is the ink. Now, when we decorate a product in the heat press, it needs to be something that someone says can be decorated with sublimation. So for instance, let's say you have an all cotton shirt. Well, can't decorate cotton. Cotton is a water-loving molecule, and it will not grab those dyes and pull them into the molecular structure of cotton. Won't do it. We do have some band-aids of ways to decorate cotton, but in general, sublimation needs to go to polyester. So a mug, for instance, would be coated with polyester. We would either use a mug press or an oven that you dedicate for sublimation to decorate drinkware. Very popular, I might add. But nowadays, in this year of 2020, which is almost over, can you believe it? I guess a lot of people want to say goodbye to it. But we have thousands of products that can be decorated with sublimation. So literally, you can have some blank stuff sitting off to the corner, and you decorate it with high value designs that's Craig's forte, and you sell them for lots of money, and you literally can do this in minutes. So sublimation is just, we'll call it an on-demand process, minimum quantity one, because there's really no setup, you just print and press. You can achieve photographic results, full color graphics, and you can do it literally in minutes. So that's why sublimation has become so popular. It used to be a well-kept secret, you know, but with the virus, certainly is just become very popular. Now, in today's world, with it being so popular, it has become a strain on the equipment side of sublimation. And so there generally is a little bit of a waiting list to get a printer, to get a heat press, to get everything you need, but not much of one in general. So On the computer side, we don't really care what you have. We really don't care how you print, what you print. That's not what we're interested in. But in the case of producing professional quality images and graphics, certainly our favorite by far is Corel Draw. Corel Draw is the Swiss Army knife. And that's what Craig, of course, specializes in. That's what we love. And that's really how we got together, because, we need you to produce great looking artwork that people are willing to pay for. That's the name of the game. So the better the artwork, guess what? The more you can charge. And so the value equation of selling sublimation product are, number one, the base substrate. How much is that mug worth or that face mask worth? Number two is the artwork on it increases the value. And then number three is how you sell the product determines its value. Are you selling your product like you're at a flea market, or selling it like you're an upscale boutique? So the more professional that you present yourself, essentially the more you can charge. Now let's talk about heat presses first. So in today's world of eBay and Amazon, and even some of our good competitors, you will see heat presses that are really low cost. Those heat presses are made in China, and you get what you pay for. But in the case of sublimation, it's really a challenge, because it's like cooking on a poor stove or cooking on a small stove. You got your gas burner, you got your Coleman stove, okay? Yeah, they both get hot. So having a quality heat press is extremely important. In the United States, we have a great manufacturer called George Knight. That's my George Knight heat press right there. They are a 135-year-old company in Brockton, Mass. They make a heat press that will likely outlast your lifetime. In fact, the heat platen, the thing that gets hot, is warranted for life. So having a great heat press is just critical to sublimation success. Number two is the printer. And in a funny way, we now sell sublimation markers. So you can actually do sublimation without a computer, without a printer, because we've got the markers. And for instance, people sometimes put the markers in their contour cutters, and they can, draw an image. So I used to say you got to have a printer. That's not quite true. And it's really funny, the markers actually do a good job. But for most people that are doing traditional sublimation, you'll need a printer. And after all these years, the printers today that we have, that Condi offers, they are all designed from the ground up for sublimation. They're sold for sublimation. They're supported for sublimation. They're warranted for sublimation. And really, things like this really don't cost any more to get a great printer than trying to piecemeal something yourself. So we sell 3 printers for sublimation that are, we'll call it the desktop styles. We also sell really big printers, and those would be for doing like all over print shirts, big pieces of metal, but bigger stuff. But for the things that'll fit on a typical desktop, we sell the Sawgrass printers, and they have 2, an SG500, SG1000. The 500 prints 8.5 by 14. The SG1000 with the bypass tray will print 13 by 21. So that's sort of the bigger printer is sort of the right one for say doing shirts, things like that. I have here the SG1000. This printer bears the name Sawgrass. The printer is actually manufactured for Sawgrass by Ricoh, the copier company. And it's a long story, won't go into it, but these printers have been on the market, I think, over 14 years, and they are absolutely ideal for sublimation. And the papers, the inks, the printer itself have all been tuned to give you great out of the box sublimation results. Now, garbage in is still garbage out. So I teach my classes continuously, got great videos to help you. So it'd be sort of like two analogies for sublimation are cooking. Got to have, you know, a kitchen, of course. Got to have a stove. You got to have a recipe. Got to have good ingredients. You got to put the recipe together correctly. You got to cook it long enough. And so those are the elements of sublimation that you have to do correctly. So you can have a great kitchen, great ingredients, but if you don't take the time and trouble to put the recipe together correctly, cook it right, it's obviously not going to work. And that's the case with sublimation. The difference is we're signed up to help you be successful, to work through your issues. And if you don't have issues, I can tell you you're simply not trying, because everybody is going to have to learn to do sublimation. Another great analogy is when we all go to learn to drive a car. We don't get on the interstate day one. Learn to back the car out, go around the neighborhood. And so starting off sublimation, a great way to do that is to decorate fabric. Go to Joann's or Hancock's, get you a couple of yards of white 100% polyester fabric and just press your little heart out. And that is a great way to learn sublimation. So when we learn sublimation, there's really three things we need to do correctly. We need to print correctly at the computer. We need to print correctly at the printer, which really is print on the right side of the paper. And then number three is we need to press it correctly. In the case of pressing, really four variables: time, temperature, pressure, and technique. Technique is how do we stack things? What's on top, what's on bottom? It's building the sublimation sandwich. But the good news is all this is really quite simple. It can be learned quickly. And we've really built up a program here to help you be successful quickly. For instance, one of my great tips that I tell people is that when you're learning sublimation, you want to build your wall of shame. Build your wall of shame. And by that, what I mean is that when you do make mistakes, instead of getting mad, instead of throwing them away, you want to learn from your mistakes. You want to understand why that occurred, with the obvious reason of preventing it the next time. And so near your heat press or near the computer, depends on where the mistake occurred, you want to post your mistakes. And that's going to be an in-face reminder to not do it. For instance, on plaques, used to do a lot of plaques years ago, it had a keyhole in the back. And if you didn't look at the keyhole, you had a 50-50 shot of the right orientation of the plaque. And so literally, I would just get so excited. I put the transfer on there, close that press, and I had a 50-50 shot of doing it wrong. So finally, I just said, well, I'm going to take a plaque that I just ruined. I'm going to put it on my wall so that it's obvious that it's upside down. And that's going to be my in-face reminder to look on the back before I put the transfer to make sure I have the correct orientation. Doing simple things like that are tremendously important. Us men, we have a number of bad habits, and I am one, so I can criticize it. Number one is I typically do not want to read instructions, and in the sublimation world, that's a really bad thing. So we have great instructions along with each product to help you through it. If you don't read the instructions and then adjust for your situation, your press, you're probably not going to be successful. And then number two, which I've already mentioned about, is we need to learn from our mistakes. And if you don't learn from your mistakes, guess what? You're doomed to repeat them. And so it really all comes down to one concept, and may not want to hear it. It may be difficult for people, but it comes down to documentation. You need to develop a sublimation journal and simply write down what's happening. Write down your successes, your failures, your questions, all those things. And if you do that, you're going to be very successful. So some products, for instance, you may not do every day, but if you still document those, that when you do go do that product, say 2 weeks later or whatever, you can refer back to your notes. You've got your recipe right there that's going to get you up to speed without having to reinvent the wheel. And so these are, we'll call it, if you remember the old book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, this is the sort of the Zen of sublimation, the philosophy of sublimation. And it's really intended to help you make money. If you're wasting your time, ruining product, guess what? You're not making money. And so everything I do, the videos, our resources here, our instructions, our templates, the products themselves are all tuned around one concept: to make yourself successful. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if we step a little further back from the sublimation process, we're as far back as you can get, and we got 3 steps there. The first step is, as I've already repeated, you got to make artwork. You got to have artwork that looks great, innovative, exciting, valuable artwork. Then you got to produce that product with the sublimation process we've talked about. But the third step is perhaps the most important, and that is sales and marketing. You got to get out there and sell the product. And that's where certainly Craig has resources through InkSoft. We have lots of resources. But the bottom line is you can produce great looking product, and unless you get out there and sell it, nobody's going to buy it. And so you can make face masks all day long, but unless you sample your clients, unless you show them what they can get, then you're not going to be successful. You can have a great website, but if you don't have any traffic, you're not going to be successful. And so ultimately, it's really sublimation success is putting those 3 elements together for success. And Craig is certainly the master on the artwork side, and certainly has a lot of good advice on the sales and marketing side. And then, of course, I can absolutely help you with the sublimation process. So what I wanted to do today, Craig, I will take a breath here. Comments so far?
No, it's great. I mean, I'm learning a lot right now too. I mean, it's like a university course in sublimation. But what I would like to also back up David's, I spend an incredible amount of time writing written documentation that people never read. But I think you can get away, usually on the graphic side of things, you can get away with a lot without reading documentation. But when you're talking about physical process and printers and equipment, you really can't. And I would say that the documentation that Condi has put together is second to none in the industry, and that's one of the reasons that we've always endorsed them for sublimation, is we know that our customers are going to have a good training experience, which is critically important.
Yeah, I had a client call me yesterday. They'd sent an email in, and I monitor the support emails, and it's the kind of email that fits with males. Basically, they were decorating fabric, and they were having every problem that you possibly could. And so instead of just sending him back an email saying, well, we got some videos, we got some documentation, if he's that far along and he's made that many mistakes, then telling him to go read something or watch a video is not a solution. So I just said, hey, please call me when you get a chance. And so I walked him through really start to finish in pretty good speed, what he needed to do, and putting all the elements of success together. And I said, sir, this is what you got to do. And if you do these, it's going to work. He accepted that advice. Then you got to just make sure he turns it into practice. But we do have a lot of clients that'll get in, buy a system, and for whatever reason, they don't apply the analogy of learning to drive a car or cooking to the sublimation process. They truly believe that they're going to master sublimation after the first pressing. And there's probably somebody out there who did, but sublimation is just like any other process. You've got to take your steps. I'll give you an example, which Craig and I preach about all the time, and that is matching color. So typically a person believes that they can sit at their screen, their monitor, and start picking colors, and that by the time they print and sublimate, that they're going to be the same colors that they are on the screen. Not going to happen. But the solution is dirt simple. All you do is print a big color chart, sublimate it, then pick the color you want off the sublimated chart and design with that color. And that's it. It's that simple. But you actually have to print the chart. You actually have to sublimate it. But if you'll just simply print and sublimate a color chart, which we will provide, you're going to match colors like a pro. Otherwise, you're going to sit there and be frustrated by saying, well, I picked 10 shades of this red, but none of them are what I want. Okay. So it's so important to simply ask for help. Say, here's my problem. What do I do? How do I fix this? Then you take an approach of, well, I'm just going to figure it out on my own, and I'm going to keep experimenting until I figure it out. That's just crazy. So essentially, you've hired us to help you be successful with learning the sublimation process. And then we partner with people like Craig to help you in the design world. And we have lots of great sublimation sales and marketing resource. For instance, we have a great spreadsheet that gives you selling price ranges for products. Very often, people will think that they should use some sort of markup formula with setting a price of their product. That's crazy. It does not apply at all to sublimation. I mean, if you did that for a mug, you'd be selling a mug at say $3, which would be well below what the market will pay you. You know, you're at $15 to $20 easily for a custom mug. Maybe something that has some great artwork, maybe even 25. So, you know, there's all sorts of things you can learn very quickly in success. So sublimation is just an amazing decorating technology. Works extremely well, lots of things to decorate, and you can make a lot of money, especially on masks. I brought home a printer and a heat press to my wife because she said she wanted to make masks, and she's been churning them out. She loves to put dog faces on masks and other stuff. So she's just had a lot of fun. She really isn't doing it as a business, mainly doing it for family and friends and things like that on Facebook. I'm going to talk her into doing it as a business one of these days. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to go ahead and print something and press it to just walk you through the process. Now we're going to print on sublimation paper, which is almost plain paper, but has a nice coating on it to keep the ink from going too far into the paper, so it'll come out real easy. Also, the paper keeps the ink dots sharp, and we call that minimizing dot gain. You need to print on the correct paper, which will tell you what paper to use. You need to print on the correct side, which in this printer, when you put it in the tray, the print side goes face down. We generally print everything mirror imaged. And so usually our driver automatically mirrors it. The only things you don't mirror are glass and acrylic, but we mirror it because we're going to be viewing it from the other side once it's sublimated. So I've already put some paper in the printer, and I'm going to go to Corel. I'm just going to print away, and then we'll take it to the heat press. So let me go to, all right, so that's Corel there. Craig, is this the piece of artwork you supplied? I believe it is. And I'm going to go down here to print. Printing to, in this case, the Sawgrass Print Manager. And I'm going to push print here. And so the Sawgrass Print Manager should come up. I'll move it over so you can see it. All right, so there's our design, chosen 11 by 17 paper, even though it's slightly larger than that really, but that's fine. And then I'm gonna push print. You'll notice it's mirrored on there. So the Sawgrass Print Manager has a bunch of cool features in it. One of them is sort of a final print preview to help you make sure that things are going to work out. So let me get back to. All right, I'm back. So it should come out in just a minute, I hope. And we'll see what the critter is doing. For just a second. And it's starting to print now. So again, when it comes out, one of the things that I'll show you is that the colors will look dull and muted and really to an extent incorrect on the paper. And that's because these inks are sublimation inks and they're heat activated. So when you actually apply heat, which typically is 400 degrees Fahrenheit, then the dyes that are on that paper, they come to life and they turn into a gas and they are seeking a home. And the pores or molecular structure of the polyester, due to the heat, has opened up to receive the dyes. And then when the heat is removed, the pores collapse, trapping the dyes in the fabric forever. They will not come out. You cannot undo a mistake. They have incredible wash fastness because you have dyed the fabric. So the print came out, and you can take a look here. That's Craig Design, and so I'm gonna grab a pair of scissors over here, and we will press it. So again, sublimation for somebody like me that has a bad case of ADD is truly instant gratification. Here's one of our masks, and I cannot remember the part number. We have pretty good collection of different masks. They're all about the same to an extent. They're all masked. This one may be the 3-layer mask, and I think it is. And so the 3-layer is that you can decorate this on both sides. And so it's got polyester on either side, and then it's got a layer of cotton in the middle. So it's essentially the best mask for if you want to do filter. Now these masks, of course, are we'll call it recreational. They're not medical grade masks. Right now I'm going to dry the paper. Drying the paper is just an easy to do, quick thing to make sure that there's no moisture left in it. The ink is dried. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to put a quick mist of Pro Spray. Pro Spray is a temporary thermal adhesive that keeps the transfer and the mask together as we open the press. Excuse me, 1 second.
Yeah, while David's doing that, it's really kind of fascinating to me to see the conception of our new mask builder graphics actually output onto a mask. So this is, I've been in this world a long time, doing this kind of, training, but this is the first time we've ever introduced a product doing the actual physical part as part of the introduction. So it's kind of a cool way to do it. I'm really kind of impressed. Now I'm on pins and needles waiting to see how it turns out.
Okay,
So
I'm back.
hoping the colors are going to look great. So I'll turn it back to David.
Post hurricane issue, and so at any rate, I need to mist this with Pro Spray, and we will do the transfer. Usually, it's best to do this over a garbage can. or if you're doing a lot of pro spraying, you can build your little spray box. And so we've got our mask here, and typically we'd want to pre-press our mask. So I'm going to do that really, really quick. We use uncoated white butcher paper on the top and bottom of the products we're pressing, and that kind of paper is really, really inexpensive, and you can get it from like Sam's Club and Uline are really good sources. So we're going to press it for just a few seconds here. Generally, we press things to get the moisture out and to flatten them. And then we'll be ready to press. One step that I forgot, just simply because I'm moving a little fast here, is I did not lint roll the mask, and that's, you know, so if you'll review our instructions, you can see every little step. But lint rolling the mask is important because sometimes you'll get a little bit of lint on the mask that when you sublimate it, it has a little bit of a color to it, especially blue. So at this point in time, we're going to put our mask down, and we'll position it. So if it doesn't come out right, I'm just going to blame me being on left-handed, you know, kind of thing. But sublimation is just a lot of fun. So let's see. All right, I think I got it. By the way, later today after me, Miss Sprite Woods, our director of marketing, will be on for a live on our Facebook and YouTube channel. And she always has something very exciting on Friday. So I'm going to put it in the heat press. The mask is on the bottom, so the mask substrate is face up, transfer is face down. I'm going to press it for, I think about 60 seconds in that. 1 minute, 15 seconds. I knew it was a little bit more than that. And we're going to adjust the pressure here. Yeah. So one of the things we talked about really is that if you're doing a good job of documenting your results, failures, successes, you can tune things for your heat press. And the reason is it's sort of like in your kitchen, are you cooking on a big, huge gas burner or a little wimpy Coleman stove? Because if you're cooking on a smaller burner, then things are likely going to require more time to cook. And so black is the last color to sublimate. And so when you're starting your sublimation journey, printing an RGB 000 allows you to dial in your cook time. And so if your blacks are sort of grayish, you know, kind of thing, then that means that you still have ink left on the transfer paper. If your blacks, on the other hand, are turning out brown, that means you're overcooking. And so these are things that really would allow you to become truly a master of sublimation, I would say, in a very, very short time. And indeed, that's what we've got here. We did it. It's that easy. Isn't that cool, Craig?
I am blown away. Our little baby was just born. I was just saying before, you know, when we, you know, introduce a new product, you know, you're looking at it on the screen or photos of a catalog, but it's really amazing to see it actually introduced as part of a production process. Just out of a couple questions that I got asked. One was, I'm assuming the reason you can't press both sides simultaneously is the temperature differential on the bottom side.
Essentially, that's true. The fabric acts as an insulator, and so we can't have good even heat going to both sides. Now, in the case of metal, you can decorate metal on both sides at the same time because metal is such a good conductor of heat. And the way around that, so let's say you're doing gazillions of wedding huggers. then ultimately with presses like this, you can buy bottom heat, and it's something you can install and uninstall. And with bottom heat, you can decorate both sides at the same time. So again, what you're looking at here is, in some ways, it's new, maybe new to you, but really it's been a journey, and you're looking at incredibly good refinement, what the Japanese would call kaizen, meaning it's had so much evolution and refinement. It just works really well, you know. And that's why sublimation has become so successful, because the equipment's good. If you buy from somebody like us that is going to make sure you buy the right stuff, and then it's a matter of substrates. What are you going to decorate? So we spend more money than probably anybody in the United States on substrate development, and manufacturing quality, and it is very challenging. So it's like anything else in life. You can buy something cheap, and usually that's going to come back and bite you, or you can buy something that is great quality. And some of the very mature items will give you a good, better, best choice. So, you know, depending on who you're selling to, depending on your situation, very often we'll give you choices.
So one of the questions I was going to ask you, when you printed, did you guys do any color correction on that before you printed it, or did you just print the colors in the original?
We printed the file as you delivered it.
Nice. Yeah, the colors look really good. One of the things that kind of occurred to me was, I know that the stock masks, I know they come in a couple different sizes, but you're doing the full bleed, so you're overprinting the entire black elastic. What happens if you had a mask that was solid white with white elastic? I've seen some prints done on that. It does always seem like there's a little bit of a white gap. What's your thoughts on that?
So this particular mask, I guess, qualifies like that. There's no trim on it, and when I press this, you can see I got a little bit of sublimation on the earpieces, just a little bit. Um, you know, but you know, it's good. So, you know, there is no sublimation police. So you can have a small design, you can have a large design, you can have a full bleed design, you cannot. My wife has made some local, and local means high value. So we have a local leprechaun in Mobile. You can look it up. It's called the Crichton Leprechaun. And so she did a bunch of Crichton leprechaun face mask. And what happened, this person saw the leprechaun in a part of our city called Crichton. He did a sketch of what he saw, and that sketch now has its own Wikipedia page.
Wow.
I kid you not. And so she reproduced the sketch of what the person saw. And of course, everybody in Mobile knows what it is. And she's probably made several hundred masks for her friends with the Crichton leprechaun.
Hey, question, one request is they want you to put on the new mask. I want to see what it
Okay,
looks like on.
sure. Now the mask comes with earpieces that tighten it. So I didn't put the earpieces on yet, but if you were to put the earpieces, you could adjust it.
Very nice
So,
and readable. Love it.
yeah.
Love it.
So let me talk about the earpieces just for a second. So you get a little set of these earpieces with some mask, and basically they're using a paper clip or a bobby pin. You basically pull the elastic through. You pull it through the whatever you want to call it. You know, it's so I don't know. I'm having trouble. But anyway, you just pull it through, and then they can tighten or loosen as they see fit. It's super easy to do. First time you do one, you go, how in the world do I do this? But then you got it. It's absolutely trivial to do. But the masks are sewn extremely well. They sublimate well, and really you've got a great selection of different masks. But bottom line is, they're all really great.
I mean, is there really any benefit to doing the other side? For me, if I did the other side, I might do it in just a solid color, maybe.
There is. So a couple of things. One concept is you could charge to do a second side. So that's an upsell. So you could put a second design on there. Number one. Number two concept is you could sublimate on the back side for reorder information. So that person, if they get asked, hey, where'd you get that great mask? The person may say, well, I can't remember. Well, it's on the inside of the mask. They're going to see it every time they put it on, and they'll be able to refer business to you. So that's the two benefits to if the mask is polyester on both sides.
Is it have a right and wrong side, or is it reversible?
Okay, so some masks are two-layer masks, meaning polyester on one side, cotton on the other side. And if you look at it, one side is shinier than the other. That's the polyester side. It's the only side that's going to sublimate. With this particular mask that I grabbed, this is a fancier 3-layer mask. Polyester on both the outer sides with a layer of cotton in the middle.
So you could, in theory, put a completely different graphic on one side and give the client kind of a 2-for-1 based on their mood or their feelings, or you could like a really simple graphic one side with just solid color and a logo, and then something more dynamic on the other side, just so if they wanted to be a little classier, a little bit more sporty. Is that kind of the concept?
It's one of those kinds of things that when you see it, you go, oh yeah, what a great idea. So it could be that you got two sports activities, you got two things going on in your life, and I like the mood idea. So it's really just whatever you want to do, but it can be one of those upsells that you can do with folks if it's a 3-layer mask. This one is a 2-layer mask, so I had to sublimate on the correct side. Where if I'd sublimated on this side, I could see it a little bit, but it would not have worked. Again, it's actually easy to see. It's just polyester is going to be shiny.
Yeah, one thing I was going to throw out there, from looking at the websites for the major league sports, MLB specifically, and NBA and NFL, I've seen these on the Fanatics website. But they're selling masks in trios, so they'll have a kit of masks that they'll sell is like $30 for 3, and each one of the masks has a different graphic. And I just thought that was such a cool thing. So you're supporting your favorite team, or you're supporting your favorite school or sports team, and you can have 3 different masks. You're buying it as a kit. I just thought that was an incredibly clever way to market, and I think I would be more inclined to give them a second mask versus a reversible one with 2 different themes. Get a little bit more money, probably. Hard to say.
I think it's one of those things. Every day is a new day with ideas and strategies, but that sales and marketing component, to me, ultimately is the most important component. That's how you're going to turn everything into money, and if possible, you're going to turn it into repeat orders, or you're going to turn it into referrals where people are referring business to you. And so certainly your designs are what going to get that first sale. So your designs are critical, in complementary with your sales and marketing strategy.
Yeah, one of the things that I've kind of been advocating, and with the new Mask Builder product, which you guys will see in a little bit, is combining the mask graphic with the t-shirt graphic. And so if you're using like the vaporware t-shirts, there's really nothing to prevent you from just doing a spin-off graphic from your Mask Builder pattern and the logo that's incorporated, and spinning that off into a t-shirt graphic so you have a coordinate. It doesn't mean people have to wear them together, but again, you're kind of creating that kit. And I think there's probably other sublimatable products that you could incorporate into that same graphical theme. I think that would be a really good idea. You know, this whole concept of a graphics kit for masks, it's kind of it's new territory, right? And you know, one of the things that I really enjoy about seeing what our clients do is, you know, they take these ideas and take them into places that we would have never envisioned. I talked to my client Ed today, who's on the webcast, and he has a store on base at one of the military bases, and actually in Alabama. And we were talking about just taking those background patterns, maybe even the camo patterns, and taking the unit badges and patches and incorporating that into the logo on the sublimated mask. I thought that was a really interesting idea, and I think we're on the webcast next week. I'm gonna ask him to send me a few graphics so we can play around with that a little bit. So, you know, the sky's the limit. One of the questions, you know, it was a very interesting question. I was talking to a client. I don't know if she's on here today, but she's actually in New Hampshire, brand new customer, and she said, I'm just not doing really all that well with the mass. I just can't compete with the pricing. And I go, what are you selling? And she said, I'm selling the cotton mask from Sanmar, and I'm putting a one color screen print on it. I said, you're in a commodity zone. I said, those masks sell online for $4 or $5. She had a customer said, well, I'm only going to pay $3 for this. The sublimated masks get premium prices. You know, I'm seeing those masks at the low end where people are wholesaling them. They're wholesaling them for $10. They're retailing masks between, seems like going rate is about 15, maybe a little bit more than that, depending upon the logo. If you go look at the NBA sites and all the major league sports and the college sites, they're $15 a piece, boom, across the board. So all in with the mask and the ink, what are you thinking cost wise it's going to cost to produce
I
that
would
mask?
say, first of all, I think that's you're in line with what they should be getting. But let's talk about one sweet spot. And unfortunately, my time is short, Craig. So I'll let you carry on. But I unfortunately
No,
have
it's
some
perfect.
obligations. But
Perfect.
for instance, if I was going out right this very second, I would do everything in my power to market to weddings. Weddings, people spend money like crazy. And today, every wedding needs a face mask for the people attending it. Why not give them a face mask that is themed for the wedding, potentially themed for the wedding on one side, something fun or different on the other. You could think of one side you wear to the wedding, one side you wear to the reception. And then you do a very special set of masks for the bride and groom, just as a start. It used to be the hugger was the thing for weddings, but and you can still do those, and that's a great idea. But weddings, I think, is a clear winner. So get plugged into what weddings are going on in your community, potentially market to even outside your community, and you can do extremely well because you have a couple of things going for you. You can produce them very fast. Certainly in one evening, you can produce whatever number of masks you need to, and put them in the mail or deliver them the next day. And, this might be, last minute detail. For a lot of people, it goes, wow, we really want to honor this wedding with our guests who took the time and trouble to go. And we want to make sure everybody is social distancing, wearing a mask, especially at the reception, and why not? So I was in a gift store yesterday, and they had every wedding that they were aware of, on their board. So I could go up there and see by date and who was getting married, and so that might be a clue of who to contact, or you could even ask them, see if you could wholesale through them to that wedding. I talked to the lady. My wife's birthday was yesterday. I talked to the lady that was running it, and I said, have you ever thought about the concept of virtual inventory? And she goes, what's that? And I go, well, you buy a blank product and you decorate it as you need to, as opposed to making a big purchase and hoping by the end of the season it sells. Is that the design that's going to sell? Are 5 out of the 10 things that you bought selling, but the rest you've got to go through clearance? Well, with a virtual inventory model in Sublimation, you decorate what sells. You change your designs. You offer customized merchandise. Could be a monogram, on the mask. It could be themed for something happening locally, themed for the season, themed for the holiday. I would love to have a Halloween mask. I'm gonna think about what I want to do for Halloween.
I'm gonna
So
make you one with
definitely, I have.
rhinestones. We'll do a rhinestone one for you, David.
There we go. There we go. So that's how I stay excited about this market, Craig, because if you will go to the trouble of selling and marketing are going to be critical. Between Craig and myself, we can do the rest.
So, pardon my ignorance. What is a wedding hugger? Is that creepy uncle, or what is that?
So a beverage
Oh,
beverage container.
a koozie we
Koozie.
call this.
So
Okay,
so that's what it is. It's a koozie. The challenge is that koozie is actually a trademarked
right.
word, and so to be perfectly straight up, we don't use that word. We call it by its function, which is it's a beverage hugger. But that is drop down funny, Craig, about the creepy uncle at the wedding.
Sorry about that. So, all right, excellent. Well, I'll let you go. I know you have another engagement. I think I can handle all the questions that are on here. I think there was only one that I couldn't handle, which was, if you have buttons, do you have to double tap it? Do you have to press it twice if you have buttons on things?
Like what?
I don't know, maybe like a baby bib or something. I don't know what would have a button on it.
Um, so generally, if it's a button, you would hope that it was designed for sublimation and you can't remove the button, so you just have to press. Um, so, but if I had an example, I guess we could better clarify the transfer technique. But
Yeah,
generally, if it's an odd product and it has complications like that, our instructions are going to guide you. For instance, we have a bunch of those little ladies love them. They're the zippered bags, whatever they're
yep,
called. And we have those. We design them ourselves. We have a manufacturer for us. Well, we just designed the zippers to handle the heat of sublimation, where most zippers would simply melt. But because we're designing a product for sublimation, we're able to acquire a zipper that really does a great job with heat. So
excellent.
that's why it's important to buy products, at least at first, buy products that there's no doubt they're going to work. And then once you become an expert, you can go out and try different things and have people that will go to the Dollar Tree store and grab things to sublimate, because again, it's really just polyester. So I had a person the other day call me. They were so excited. They had found um, a felt material polyester that had, I think, a snowman, and they were just so excited. It was as if they had won the lottery. They were so excited, and I said, that's great. That'll work. You can put that on your door. So there's a lot of growing room for sublimation, and you can expect to see, again, things continue to go viral.
One last question. Net cost on that mask printed, what were we thinking?
Um, I'm not too good at what the product costs, but I think you're probably at $2.
Wow. So it's a bit like printing money, huh?
I would
The
say
legal
indeed
version.
indeed it is. It comes to, you got to put the elements together, but certainly the low cost of sublimation, the low cost of putting all the costs together, and the kind of value, you can do extremely well, especially if it's complementary to maybe something you're already doing. But even if it's not complementary, for instance, Craig and I talk all the time about our favorite markets, fundraising. You should be doing these masks for fundraising, no doubt about it. Great market. No matter what you think you're doing now, do fundraising. The other
Yep.
favorite market is pet groomers, sell to pet groomers. Nobody takes their dog to a pet groomer because they have to. So you want to have a little display where you can sell personalized products to that pet groomer, that pet owner, and then you're doing wholesale fulfillment through the pet groomer. A true win-win strategy.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us today, and looking forward to seeing other great samples from Mask Builder. And is there anything, do we have any promotion codes or anything that we want to
Yes.
promote today?
So we've got a promotion for September, which coming to an end, and it's CPN hyphen, which is Charlie Paul Newman hyphen. Um, I
Is it on the
cannot remember.
website?
Yeah, I think it's on there. It's certainly on the Facebook page, but it's a generous coupon. It's $25 off any order, $200 or more.
Excellent.
CPN, if you email Sprite, before you hang up, and she can tell you what the coupon is.
All right, cool.
Sorry, but
We'll sort it.
always great deals. Get to know your Condi rep. Your Condi rep can be of great help to you. We're a high touch company, and again, our only goal is to make you successful.
And
You take care.
last question.
Yeah.
What's the inventory looking like on masks right now?
Extremely good.
Excellent.
So we're extremely good on mask. It was just a matter of some time, but great quality, great, got a couple of different styles, sizes, but all good.
Excellent.
So thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
David. Appreciate it. All right, you guys should see my screen right now. So what I'll chat the promotion code out right now. There it is on the code. If you're watching on the video, you're probably going to be, code is probably expired, but it's CPN-R ampersand UP. CPN-R ampersand UP. So what I want to show you with the graphic that David printed was from our new Mask Builder, which is a new graphical product. These are templates that were designed for Adobe Illustrator and CorelDRAW, and they work especially well when you're utilizing the Smart Designer software. And so this is a groundbreaking product. And so we specifically designed these with the Condi face mask shell in mind, but we also did other shells to give it a little bit more flexibility. So you can use any vendor that you choose to, but we use the Condi template as one of the templates in the product. So the way we constructed this is you have a digital catalog, which you can embed into your website so you can give your clients ideas. You have the different mask templates, and so you have all the different layouts. And so if you were going to create a mask, here's the one that David was using. You have the base pattern right here, which has just the mascot. You have the mascot incorporated into a logo with a variation of the pattern, and then you have the solid background with just the logo. So if you're screen printing or doing a digital transfer process like an Okidata, or if you have a DTG printer, you're likely going to use this layout here, or you could certainly sublimate that too. That was my idea, to have this on one side and this on the other. It'd be pretty cool. Then you also have the mask that's set up for the cut and sew masks. This is the cut and sew mask that people will purchase from a variety of resources, where they're actually printing a block of fabric and they're sewing that mask into a finished mask from that block of printed fabric. And that's why you'll see like the white ribbing around the perimeter on those, typically on those masks. So we did that layout template just to kind of show people what that's like. And this is also, you can color that mask elastic as well. You don't have to have that be, just the white rim there. And then the Condi mask, and then the popular cotton mask. We actually use the silhouette from Sanmar to create this one. And so you have all these wonderful layouts, and what you're going to do is you're going to use this as a promotional tool to get orders from schools, teams, organizations. And this is a product that will put you into the masks business in a very, very big way, in an elite way. And quite honestly, the graphics that you're seeing in here are going to be at the level of what you're seeing in the professional sports and the collegiate sports companies that are doing all this licensed product. And that was the goal, is that we wanted to create graphics at that same level that were looking as good as the licensed product logo. We incorporated a bunch of our new mascots into the collection, but certainly clients are going to take this mascot out and in many cases substitute their own mascot in there, or you can use our mascots because they're really cool. So you've got complete flexibility and quite easy to take these and spin these into t-shirt graphics as well. And I'll show you just real quick, how you utilize a template so you can see kind of how we set these up. And we're only through the L's, so it's a pretty robust collection. Like there's 144 templates that are in here. And we did all the common mascots and all the common school colors, just so you can kind of show your customers the variety. Whoops, there you go. That's a really great Razorback, looking at that. Wow, cool. So, we did all kinds of interesting, fun backgrounds. And this was a really intriguing project to build this because it's new territory. Nobody's ever done this before. So we really had to do a lot of experimentation with the layout and the quite frankly the specs for this. And I'll show you, it came together really, really nice. So I'll show you how that works here in a second. And here's all your mascots, and then here's your fonts. And we use mostly a bunch of our superhero fonts in here, but we use some of the script styles in here as well. So the way this works, if you're using Adobe Illustrator, they're just static Illustrator files that you can edit, and we use the masking function, no pun intended, to do that. But if you're using CorelDRAW, you can do the same thing. You can edit them manually, but it's quite cool how you can do it interactively with Smart Designer. So all you would do is just go to the template category that you wanted, and you would pick out, I would probably start with the mockup. I think it's just as easy to start editing on the mockup. You can do the rectangle too, and then you can power clip that into a mask template, but I'll show you kind of how one of these works. So if I come over here and I click on that template, then you just go over, just like any other template in Smart Designer, you just go over here and edit text. And I'm not going to change the mascot on this. I'm just going to change the text. And then we'll type in Westview. And that's envelope. So you see how that compresses. And you can still go in here if you want. You want to mix this up. You can change the colors because you can go over here to the color management function in Smart Designer. And let's say you wanted to get crazy and change that to a different color blue, maybe like a deeper navy, which might look kind of neat. Oops, we'll go and just click on swap. And maybe we want to go to a deep navy on that. And this is what David was talking about when you're doing color, when you're actually doing color matching, you're going to pick your color from the chart itself. You're not going to necessarily going to pick the color from the what you're seeing on screen. What you're seeing on screen is not going to match. And so because your monitor is not color corrected, and you have the sublimation process kind of in the middle of all of this. So the way this background is set up is you can actually extract the background content, so it's just a big rectangle. And if you wanted to do that, you can make that bigger, smaller, whatever you want. Or more importantly, you've got the actual imageable area. So typically what David did is he made this bigger, so it was larger than the actual mask template, and then he shrunk down the logo, and this is the part that he printed right there. So that's the printed part. Pretty simple. So I don't think we could have made this any easier. And so it's really, and by the way, you get your t-shirt graphic right under there. So there's your t-shirt graphic right there if you want that. So I am very proud of this product. I think it was very well conceived, and I think it's going to be very user friendly. We'll do a ton of training around it, but we basically just served up the whole team, school, and sports mascot business to you. And I think what's going to set you apart is having these top level graphics that are at that level of like the NBA, NFL, Major League Sports, NCAA level graphics that you can, port down to the level of a local school, middle school, grade school, high school. And, and at least in our area, and maybe this is true much of the US and Canada, masks are mandated in the schools. And, one of the things that, some of the school districts are doing, they're actually providing masks to their students. Um, there's bidding situations where people are bidding on masks, but you can certainly set up a fundraising store. You can sell masks online. You could do a whole series of masks for all your local high schools and just set up a local high school web store where people could go order them. Because when these masks, you can do these one-off. You can very easily do a one-off. If you had 10 designs up there on your web store and you had 10 designs on your web store for the 10 schools in your area, or maybe two designs per school, and you set up a web store, boom, once that gets going on social media, just sit back and collect orders. So we're really quite pleased with the way this turned out, and so hopefully you guys enjoy that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorded portion of the webcast, and then we'll open it up for any additional questions.